Sign up to the SBR Network and use your free daily bet points to earn real-world prizes. Click on the page and start winning now. Hi, welcome to SBRForum videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 171 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMA Oddsbreaker. Nick, of course, is a consultant and an MMA odds maker for numerous sports books. And our call-in guest is Nate Miller, and he's also with MMAoddsbreaker.com, and his podcast is called the MMA Analysis Podcast. All right, guys, Nikita Krylov and Ovince St. Preux on the main card is the last fight we're going to discuss here, and of course Krylov replaces Thiago Silva, and St. Preux is minus 400 right now as a favorite. Krylov is plus 310, and Krylov dropping down from heavyweight. He's coming off a huge first round knockout win with that huge head kick over Walt Harris. OVP, he can win by ground and pound. Should he be this big of a favorite? Maybe he should be. I'm not exactly sure. For me, it's a pass. Nate Miller, what do you make of this fight?
Oh, this for me is an absolute pass. OSP is just not worth negative 400 versus anybody. And if you ask anybody, not me, but if you ask most MMA fans, Nikita Krylov is kind of considered bottom of the barrel. Besides his last fight, after that Soa Paleli fight, nobody thought very much of him besides me. And I've kind of become a really big fan. I actually hit a very small play on him last time. I had him by KO versus Walt Harris at plus 700, parlay with Alex Caceres by submission tonight plus 1500.
Nice. So
that paid off really well. Nice. And I'm a huge fan of Nikita Krylov now, if you can't guess why. But I just don't see how he could win this fight. I think grappling is a big part of it. We've seen how Europeans are not very good wrestlers. Obviously, he has a submission game, and it is effective. I've seen that, but not necessarily in the octagon. But we have seen he put some submission attempts on Soa Paleli. But just it's good to see him at 205. This is another reason this is a pass is because it's 205. We haven't seen how he performs. If he has cut that small amount of weight, I do mean very small, because the fact he was fighting at heavyweight is hilarious. But you got OSP, who's just straight violence. This guy, his ground and pound is vicious. His wrestling is okay. His striking is vicious. This should be an interesting fight, but at negative 400, I'm just not interested in it. This is a fan fight. This isn't a bettor's fight. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Nick Kalikas, OVP at minus 400. Where'd you open this line? I'm assuming you opened it a little bit lower, right?
Yeah, I did actually. It was around 280, so just under 3-1. Right. And line got bet up about 100 cents or so. So, I'm not really surprised. I mean, Krylov was a big dog against Walt Harris. So, I mean, dropping down, even though Krylov's dropping down to 205, still OSP is going to get a lot more support in this spot than Walt Harris you would think in most cases. So, it's a hard fight to gauge because OSP definitely has the tools to win this, and probably fairly easy. I mean, if he fights smart, sticks Krylov up against the cage, goes for takedowns, and follows a blueprint, I mean, he could get him to the floor and work his ground and pound. Krylov's pretty tough. His cardio, though, is definitely an issue. But what you did see in that short time that he was in with Harris is the guy's definitely been working on his cardio and his physique, because, I mean, the guy's been putting in work. You could tell he lost several pounds, so he was on his way down to 205 anyway. To me, it seemed like, and this is a good spot. I mean, he kind of has a fresh start. There is a lot of hype behind the guy in Russia. I mean, looking at the film on tape in his previous fights, he's not very impressive. He's fought low-level competition in most cases as well. But the thing we all have to factor in, he's 22 years old. Right. And sometimes I look at, when you're doing film study, you look at some of these guys and you're thinking, man, they're not that impressive at all. But between fights, they do progress at a decent level at times. I mean, they're starting to train a lot better. They're taking the sport. I mean, let's face it, with the growth of MMA, I mean, a lot of people, even in Europe, is spreading. I mean, people are learning how to train properly, train right. Even if they don't have the best training partners, they're still doing certain things to elevate their game. So that's the only question mark here. I think Krylov probably loses this fight. But I agree with you guys. I don't think you could sit there and just, parlay confidently with OSP, even though he is probably going to win this fight. That's why he's around a 3-1 favorite. Yeah. And again, he has the attributes and the skill set to win this fight. He has the cardio. I mean, he does tend to fade as the fight goes on too. But again, Krylov's a little bit untested. I mean, he lost that fight to Paleli because of his cardio, I think, more so than anything else. So he went back to the drawing board, worked on it a little bit, came out and just floored, Harris in his last fight. So it's just there's question marks all over Krylov right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's too many uncertainties here. All right, Nate Miller, I hate to do this, but you are a guest, so, this is what you signed up for. If you had to make a bet on this fight, you can take either side. You can take the total over 1.5 is minus 145, the under 1.5 is plus 105, or any kind of prop with value. How would you bet this fight if you had to bet it?
I'm not going to make any assumptions on prop values because I think the lines are a little off on this one. But I think you said it right there. Under 1.5 plus 105. That's very tempting. Nikita Krylov has only been out of the first round once in his entire career. I mean, he has 19 fights. Whether they're against Ukrainian cans or not, that's an impressive factor. I mean, it shows aggression to me. That's what that means to me. OSP is rather aggressive. I just think these guys are going to come out swinging. So if I did have to make a play on this, it would be at the under 1.5, which does happen to be at plus 105, which I think is very tempting considering this guy's only been out of the first round once in his entire career, win or lose. I do think his weakness is going to be cardio and submissions, which OSP doesn't have the greatest submissions, but his cardio is decent enough to last. Considering this is probably the first weight cut of his entire career, I'm not entirely sure how he'll perform. So although the under is tempting, I am just not that into it.
All right. Well, thanks so much for those thoughts, Nate Miller, and great preview, guys. Thanks. Talk to you again very soon.